We have an update when it comes to the potential injury sustained by Randy Orton during this week's edition of Monday Night Raw, plus some more details regarding 2 heel turns we saw on Monday's edition of Raw. We have the ratings from this week's episode and an update when it comes to Alexa Bliss. All this and more in today's WWE News. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into today. So let's start off talking about Randy Orton. Now, there was some concern coming out of Monday Night Raw this week that Randy Orton may have sustained some kind of shoulder injury, collarbone injury, some sort of injury in the match against Montez Ford, which saw a very strange and awkward ending, if you couldn't tell already, and the report subsequently come out, as to be expected, that was not the planned finish for that match, because Randy Orton and Riddle were actually originally scheduled to defeat the Street Profits on this week's edition of Raw. Now, as has been widely seen on social media and during the broadcast on Monday, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins defeated Randy Orton and Riddle after Ford hit a frog splash on Orton, leading to an awkward finish and post-match conversation between the two tag teams and the referee. Orton was seen clutching his right shoulder on the way to the backstage area. So we have an update when it comes to this, and it comes from Fightful Select, Sean Ross Sapp. Orton and Riddle were originally scheduled to win the bout after a series of RKOs to the Street Profits, according to Fightful Select. Now, Orton took that rough frog splash from Ford, and because of his condition, the planned finish did not happen. Now, it was reported previously how Ford made a post-Raw tweet and indicated that Orton was okay, despite the injury concern. WWE officials planned on monitoring the situation, as a lot could change with Orton's condition overnight. The word now is that it was a case of Orton just getting the wind knocked out of him, his ribs crushed, and not being able to move at first. There's no backstage heat reportedly on Montez Ford for the spot, and it was considered the situation to be SHIT happens kind of thing. Now, I must say, when they said, oh, well, these things going to happen, it's because the guy's okay. You know, if Randy Orton was injured and if the match was of really high substance and actually meant a lot, then I think people would have maybe a slightly different viewpoint than, well, these things kind of happen. Randy Orton's fine. Certainly if this was Randy Orton in like 2009, when it's like, you know, Mr. Kennedy dropping Randy Orton on his shoulders or his neck, or Kofi Kingston messing up an RKO spot or something, I'm sure Randy Orton would have reacted a lot differently. Thankfully, we're in 2022, not 2009 or anything like that. So that's the situation. It's just, there was a concern by everyone that, is he going to be hurt? And if he's hurt, what does that mean for Montez Ford's career? Because myself, like many people, huge fan of Montez Ford. I think he's got such an upside, and I know people get angry, and I've said this so many times on social media. I say, oh man, Montez Ford, when they split up the Street Profits, because they will eventually, but when they do, he's going to be such a big star, such a big single star. He's got so much charisma, and he can work, and his athleticism's off the chart, and all that kind of stuff. People go, why are you trying to split them up? Why are you trying to split up the Street Profits? Stop trying to split up a great tag team. And that's true, but tag team wrestling doesn't mean anything in WWE, and Montez Ford's money in his career is as a single star. He's going to be main eventing pay-per-views as a single star. That will happen one day. So when I saw the frog splash that he did on Orton and he was hurt, I thought, oh, the last thing he needs is heat, but thankfully he doesn't have any because Randy Orton looks to be okay. So that's the situation as it looks to be right now. Orton's going to be fine for next week. They've got the big triple threat tag team match for the Raw Tag Team Championships next week, which is interesting because I say it's interesting because they're hyping it a lot. Something big is going to happen in that match, whether it's, you know, a title change, whether it's Riddle and Orton breaking up, whether it's a Steve Austin appearance, considering Kevin Owens has been saying so much. I don't know, but that is a big match they've been hyping up for weeks, and something big is going to happen. What it's going to be, I don't know. Now, of course, on Raw on Monday as well, we saw 2 heel turns, not 1, but 2, with Damien Priest and Edge. Now, reportedly, Damien Priest and Edge are officially being booked as heels going forward on the Raw brand. Now, of course, Monday on Raw, Finn Balor defeated Priest to become the United States Champion. Priest then attacked Balor after the match. Raw then closed with AJ Styles accepting Edge's challenge for WrestleMania 38. The show then closed with Edge taking AJ Styles out with a low blow kick and then destroying him with a set of steel chair shots with a concerto. In an update, PW Insider is reporting that Edge and Priest are both now officially listed as heels on the internal Raw roster following their back-to-back turns on Raw. It was clear that they turned on Raw, but now WWE will be booking both superstars as heel through WrestleMania 38 season. A couple of interesting things I think about this. First of all, let's take it one by one. Let's start off with Damien Priest. The Damien Priest one was needed. And I really sympathize for him, actually, because the guy was over last year, when he had his old music and the old gimmick. And then it was just a case of WWE doing what they do on the main roster. And they've done this so many times, but they looked at Damien Priest and they decided to fix something that wasn't broken. Damien Priest was not broken. He was getting over just fine. He was getting good reactions. He was having good matches. He was cool. Coming out of the Bad Bunny stuff of WrestleMania, he got the celebrity rub and he was doing great stuff, won the US Championship at SummerSlam. And then for whatever reason, WWE decides, you know what? Something needs tweaking. Okay, we can do this whole, you're going to get the Damien side or you're going to get the Priest side. So basically you're going to get the, it was like heaven and hell kind of metaphor. And it was just, okay. And then when he comes out, they change his music. And again, I've said this so many times. It was the same with Tommaso Ciampa on Raw on Monday too. They changed the music. And I understand the reason why they have to do it. The rights fees deal that the CFOs made, the previous people that made the music in WWE reportedly is terrible. So WWE, to use that music still on television, they have to pay a ton of money and they're not happy to do it. So gradually over time, they've been changing the songs. I get that, but it doesn't change the fact that the songs they have replaced the CFO songs with are terrible. They are absolutely terrible. There is only a handful of exceptions where you go, okay, that replacement's pretty good. Roman Reigns. I mean, apart from that, there are very few. They all suck. And the biggest eye-opening part of that was when we had the Rumble a couple of weeks ago. Every single time someone came out in the Rumble, the crowd was flat and quiet because people didn't know what the songs were, and two, the songs sucked. So when Damien Priest had his music changed and it comes out, everyone's just flat because they're like, I like the old one. And I feel for Damien Priest. Not only did they tweak the gimmick into a lesser version of it, but they changed his music and the replacement music sucks. And it's like, now they try other things. Now, I think Damien Priest still has a ton of upside. I think he's older than people realize he is. But they obviously have a ton of faith in him. A Finn Balor Damien Priest feud going into WrestleMania is intriguing. A heel Damien Priest versus a face Finn Balor. Ultimately, they've got two shows, so everyone's going to get on the card. So I think that one's quite interesting. But again, I feel like they had to turn him heel because he wasn't getting babyface reactions anymore. He wasn't getting booed, but it was flat. He was just getting flat reactions. The Edge one, I think Edge works better as a heel. He always has. Whether or not he'll be able to do that in 2022, considering he's so adored and beloved because he's a legend, he's a Hall of Famer, will be interesting to see. I saw some people saying, finally Edge turns heel, and like many people said, I'm pretty sure he was a heel at WrestleMania last year. He didn't get the heel reaction at WrestleMania last year, but during that whole Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, Edge feud, he switched. Have we just forgotten Fastlane when he turned heel? And then for that brief period of time before WrestleMania, he was meant to be a heel, and then people weren't booing him. Well, at WrestleMania, they did boo him. They didn't have fans then, but the reaction wasn't exactly negative, so he was back to being a babyface. And then he came back as a babyface, right, against Roman Reigns, the whole Money in the Bank thing. So I think this is a more committed attempt for him to be a heel. The heel turn, I'm fascinated to see their explanation for it coming forward on Raw, because it did feel somewhat forced. AJ Styles comes out. I accept the challenge. That's great. We've wanted this match. They've wanted this match. Great. I don't want the tag team guy that's been in a tag team for the last year. I want the proper Bulldog AJ Styles. Okay. And then they just start fighting. And then Edge just kicks him in the balls and smashes his head in. So I think Edge played it well in the whole something, switch flipped, if you will. But it did feel somewhat forced, I felt. But I'm not going to complain that much about it. I think, as I mentioned, Edge does his better work as a heel anyway. So we'll wait and see on that one. A couple of other things quickly here. We have an NXT special sort of surprisingly announced, and it's going to be NXT Roadblock. A special Roadblock edition of NXT has been announced for next Tuesday on the USA Network. It's going to be headlined by a triple threat match for the NXT Championship with Bron Breakker defending against Tommaso Ciampa and Dolph Ziggler. Now, the Roadblock lineage, shall we say, has been a name for the main roster. It was a live event and network pay-per-view in 2016. Then you had a pay-per-view which WWE used in December of 2016. A couple of matches that have been announced for the show is that triple threat match. You've got the NXT Tag Team Championship match, which is the Creed Brothers versus Imperium. You've got a Falls Count Anywhere match, which is LA Knight versus Grayson Waller. And you've got the Women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic semi-finals announced for that show as well. Again, it was sort of surprising because I assumed that Dolph Ziggler versus Bron Breakker was happening at Stand and Deliver. I still think that probably is going to be the case, but this is a way of Tommaso Ciampa having his final NXT match before he moves to the main roster, I guess, considering he's practically on there anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see it, but it kind of came out of nowhere, certainly, didn't it? A quick update on WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall as well. He's currently hospitalized with a broken hip. Now, Hall, age 63, suffered a fall and broke his hip, according to PW Insider via Jerry Jarrett's page on Facebook. This is what Jarrett wrote, quote, "Just got off the phone with my friend Scott Hall. He fell and broke his hip and he's in the hospital. Prayers will help him recover." Now, Hall was scheduled to be in Dallas next month for WrestleMania 38 weekend's happenings, but there's no word yet on if this will impact his schedule. So thoughts with Scott Hall, and hopefully he has a speedy and quick recovery. Let's talk about the Raw ratings. I mentioned the heel turn by Edge and Damien Priest, the United States Championship title switch. Now, Monday's live Raw drew an average of 1.753 million viewers on the USA Network, according to Nielsen via Showbuzz Daily. This is actually down nearly 4% from last week's 1.825 million viewers for the post-Elimination Chamber show. The first hour drew 1.738 million viewers, the second hour drew 1.836 million viewers, and the final hour drew 1.685 million viewers. The rating was a 0.47 in the key 18 to 49 demographic, which is down nearly 8% from last week's 0.51 key demo rating. Raw did rank number 1 for the night on the cable top 150 with that key demo, and it ranked number 22 for the night in terms of viewership on cable. Now, Monday's Raw drew the lowest audience since January 17, but the key demo rating was tied with the post-Rumble episode for the second best key demo rating for the year so far. As I mentioned, it was down nearly 4% from last week's episode in terms of viewership, and the key demo was down nearly 8%. The Monday's Raw viewership was down 7% from the same week in 2021, while the key demo rating was down 19% from the same week in 2021. So, to be honest with you, they'll probably look at that year on year, down 7%. They'll actually go, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not bad for Raw. The key demo rating will be slightly concerning. Those numbers are always bigger because obviously we're talking about points as opposed to millions. But this will probably be about Raw, I would assume, as we get closer to WrestleMania. 1.8, 1.7. That's Raw nowadays. I think the difference between Raw and SmackDown, if you ever wanted to know the difference between cable and network, it's about 300,000, it would appear, because SmackDown will get around 2.1 million viewers. Raw will get around 1.7, 1.8. That's the difference. And I really do think that's the only difference, is that SmackDown has more casual people because they're watching Fox. They're more inclined to watch Fox than they are USA Network, which has certainly gone down a lot in terms of people viewing over the course of recent years. Finally, someone who wasn't on Raw this week was Alexa Bliss. And if her tweets are to be believed, she doesn't know why either. Now, of course, Raw this week was in the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio, which is the hometown of Alexa Bliss. However, despite now once again being an active member on the Red brand, the 3-time Raw Women's Champion was not booked on the show. Now, this immediately led to a lot of responses from the WWE Universe, but also from Bliss herself. She tweeted out a number of comments relating to her absence. She said, quote, "I wish I was there. Hopefully I'll be on Raw next time." She also put out a tweet saying #Where's Alexa? Now, it should be noted that Bliss was celebrating her bachelorette party this past weekend, which might have explained her absence, but some people are saying, well, Bliss are saying that no, she would have been available for the show. She said, as mentioned, "Where's Alexa?" Yeah, I don't know, shrug emoji, and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. I really, the whole Alexa Bliss booking to me has been bizarre anyway, frankly. She had the vignettes, came out Elimination Chamber, lost. But when she came out of Elimination Chamber, despite undergoing therapy, she's pretty much the same. So this new character we were going to see is not there either. So who knows? Who knows what's going on with Alexa Bliss? Let me know your thoughts on today's news stories in the comment section below. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wrestle News 365, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.